What's going on, y'all? It's your boy B River here. I got my boy Joey Laurer. Introduce yourself as everyone else knows you.
All right, so my name is Joey Laurer. I go by 60eraguy on social media platforms. Basically, kind of created this account on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and basically what I decided on the name from was my season in my sophomore year of college. I had a 60 ERA, and that's like the worst possible ERA you could have, pretty much. For how many appearances I had, eight different appearances. Played awful, and I mean, just like as bad as it could be. And it's sort of like a symbol of how bad I had done. And my idea with it was like, hopefully one day I'm playing so well that people are like, what does that even mean? So that was sort of the logic behind it. So hopefully one day, like, people can look back and be like, oh, he did really well for himself. And at one point, he was just not doing that good. So it's like a good
Hmm.
little story.
Exactly, exactly. And bro, that when I was going through because I remember watching. I came across one of your first videos when it was the Memorial Day video when you
Yeah.
were pitching. Give me the backstory to that, man, because is this like a normal grumpy guy? Like all your videos are at this place. I'm guessing this is your local field. Like, is this just a guy always bothering or what?
Yeah. So, my cousins have a house down on the Jersey Shore, and I go visit them like
Jersey.
probably 3, 4 times a summer, and I always make a point to like go throw there because the mound's nice, and they usually don't do a ton of stuff in the mornings. So I like to get up, get after it, just get my stuff done, and then hang out with them in the afternoons, right? So this is actually a great question because I've never been asked this on a podcast. But basically what happened was I show up at the field. I got there at like 8:30. My One of my buddies also has a house down there. He lives in New Jersey. So it's kind of like a time where we always try to make a point to get together because I don't get down to Jersey too often, and he's one of my teammates at school. So during the summer we don't really see each other. Um, so we're throwing together, and we get on the mound by like, I don't know, 9:30, or maybe my times are screwed up, but we'll say 9:30, hypothetically speaking. So we get on the mound at 9:30, and this family with like a couple kids, um, I want to say there's maybe like two families together. They show up at the field. They didn't really say much to us until we were already pretty much on the mound about to pitch. So
Hmm.
there's this dad. He was a bit rude when he came up to us. He was like, "Are you guys done throwing? We need the field." And I'm like, "We're about
That's
to throw on the
crazy.
mound. This is like the one thing that we have to do all day is like pitch on the mound. You guys can use anything else on the entire field." Now this is a big field, and these kids are, I don't know, I thought between the ages of like 3 and 5, but they came back and in the comments saying they were a little bit older than that. So I guess we give them benefit of the doubt. They were probably like 5 to 8,
Yeah.
5 to 8, and they're on a big field, and they say they need the entire field. Now we're only using the mound and home plate, right? So we had a discussion with them. We were like, we'll be off by this time. I think the actual time was 11, but I don't remember exactly when we got on the mound. So I would say, like, me saying 9:30, we were off the mound by 10:15, something like
Yeah.
that.
Pitching doesn't even like
Yeah.
shouldn't take that long.
And we're not taking that much space, right?
Yeah.
So we think we're good. We're just pitching. My buddy threw before me, and then I was on the mound. And I typically just kind of get video of my bullpens because I was going for high numbers of velo that day. And basically what happened was I'm throwing mid throwing. Like, I just happened to have the video on, right?
And,
And my buddy is like starting, stopping every throw. I throw a pitch, and this guy just like comes up to us. We'd already discussed with the dad, and he just comes up to us, and I don't know if he was his father-in-law or his actual father. I'm not sure, but he just came at us, and we happened to get it all on video because my buddy didn't turn off my phone. So I have like a 2 minute clip of him just ripping us.
Screaming. That is crazy.
And it was like perfect because one, we didn't get him on video. So it's just him yelling at us.
Hmm.
Two, I threw a 95-mile-an-hour dot. So that was
Bro,
hilarious.
that pitch was dotted. I remember I'm watching on TikTok and I'm like, bro, there's it because if you would imagine saying all that and then you just skyrocket one, but like no, bro, it was right there on the
It was
money.
just,
Like,
yeah. So, I mean, I was like, all right, if he yelled at us and like nothing really, like I thought it was funny because he was like yelling at us and then I threw an absolute dot. I didn't think too much about like, oh, this guy's just like pissed off and this might cause backlash or anything like that. So I posted it, got great amount of views. It's probably my most viral video of all time. But I mean, I couldn't believe the comment section on it. It was crazy.
bro, bro,
The amount
the
of people
funniest,
that were like, they were like, yeah, the grandpa's so in the right for yelling at a kid on the field. Like I was mind blown that how many people were like, yeah, this kid is an idiot. Da, da, da. He's a bad representative of baseball. Like what?
bro, I've been at the field when little kids come and they don't even hit it past the mound. Like when
Right.
it's their parent throwing them overhand that they can't handle, so they end up just soft tossing it. And
That's
then these
exactly
are these
what
kids.
happened here. Yeah. Like once we were done, that was what was going on. So I don't know. It was a funny experience. But
Bro,
yeah, that video was hilarious. It got posted by Eric Sim. He like made a video spinning off of that. So I
that's
got
fine.
some good recognition for it, and it was pretty funny.
Bro, when I rewatched it yesterday after he threw the pitch, he's like, "You're good."
Yeah,
Bro,
that's what he said. I was like, what the?
oh my gosh, brother. But yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say too much about your story because if anybody watched this, I want them to just see it off your page. But I did want to ask you something. I want to ask you, how did you keep in faith throughout this entire process? Because I see you're a man of faith, you're a man that keeps posting. How do you do that?
So basically, I kind of just have the mindset that you're gonna experience hard times in life. You're gonna experience good times in life. You're gonna experience all these different sorts of like feelings, emotions, all these things. And the one thing that needs to be a mainstay in your life is keeping your faith at all times.
Amen.
So I feel like, I mean, you can have all the followers in the world, you can have all the money in the world, doesn't really matter. You're not gonna feel content. Like none of that materialistic type of stuff really keeps you
Mhm.
content in life. And I've never had more like just passion to get up in the morning every day, any of that, than I have this year. And this is the first year where I was like, I mean, I've always been having faith, but this is the first year where I took it like to another level where I haven't missed a day of prayer. I haven't missed like
Bro,
much of that at all. Like I've been way more serious about taking my faith to a different level. And every day, even though I would say probably this year I've had some of the worst moments in my life
mhm,
experienced,
mhm.
but that hasn't like slowed me down. I feel full of life every day. I get up in the morning. I'm excited like it's Christmas every morning to get up in the morning. And it's just there's nothing that can replace faith, in my opinion. I feel the power that you get from faith and putting your faith in God and His plan for you is something that's unmatched. And there's nothing really that can fill that void other than putting faith in God and Jesus.
Yeah, bro. Amen, bro. Listen, one thing that I struggled with last season was allowing my performance to affect everything else. Because
Yeah,
last year I was for me, I wanted to quit. I was in a state where I was, I've always been a late bloomer in baseball. I didn't practice at all. Like I just played to play. My velo was never there, but like lefty, throw around mid 70s. So like, all right, we'll give you a chance. So I ended up at this small D3 school in Jersey. Um, and then I'm not seeing the growth. But it's also I'm gonna talk to you a little bit later why I didn't see the growth and ask you questions about that. Because I just kept this mentality, okay, if I'm keep playing, I'm gonna keep getting better. But my preparation wasn't there, working out wasn't there. But soon as and then I had this terrible season. I'm on the mound and I'm just throwing, not pitching at all. Throwing baseballs,
yeah,
and when you do that and you throw mindlessly, it ends up right down the middle, and guys are gonna slap it all around. So I had my
right.
worst season of baseball ever, and I allowed it to affect my faith. And then once I got that summer to reflect it, I realized how big of an error that was. Because what happens on the field happens on the field. Like you said, 60 ERA guy. The struggles on the field is going to be what it is. But if you keep maintaining in that faith, when you show up to the field the next day, you're like, all right, it's a clean slate. It's
Exactly.
another day, it's another opportunity. And like I've seen, like I said, I've been a late bloomer. I came into college so like 70 miles an hour. Keep it a buck. No 95. But now I'm up to like 80, 82, 83, and pushing a little
That's
higher.
great.
And that's what I'm saying. It's just that's the preparation, which I wanted to ask you about. I see the rack behind you. When did you start lifting weights?
I started lifting weights at 11 years old, so I'm 10 years into this. Um,
That's crazy.
it's just been a daily, or not, I wouldn't say daily. I don't lift every day, but when I lift, I get after it. So like
Mhm.
usually I'll do like 3 times a week, full body lifts. I never don't do full body lifts.
Mm,
Um, been doing that for ages. I've done a lot of med ball work over the years. And I just feel like if I wasn't doing it at that young age, then I wouldn't have had as much success as I started to like grow and go into puberty and all that. Because like I feel like every lift you do, every workout, anything you do, like starting now is money in the bank. And the more money you put in the bank, the more like,
yeah.
or maybe not
Mhm.
even bank, but like money in the stock market, we'll say, because it's better.
Mhm.
Every time you put in money, like there's a chance that it can go up, right? So, I mean, sure, it can go down, but there's also a good opportunity for it to go up if you put it in the right things. So, by me lifting, by me doing med balls, by doing all these other things, nutrition, trying to get weight on, those are all good investments. And once
Mhm.
your body's ready for it, the stock hits, right? And then
Yeah.
you just like take off. And that's sort of what happened. I mean, I didn't see any results my first 3 4 years lifting weights. Like I was still throwing subpar speeds, all that. Everyone was like, "Why are you lifting weights? We can't even tell." Like I've had people tell me that when I was little. And then once I hit puberty, like I just took off. I mean, it was my 15-year-old year, I was throwing 75. And then once I grew a little bit, 16, I was throwing 85. It was just like a big jump
Mhm.
from all the work I had done those years prior.
So, and I also seen that you got your first deal offer before your first varsity inning.
That is true. Yeah. So that
So,
was kind of crazy. That ties into what I was saying with the big velo jump. So
hmm
at varsity tryouts my sophomore year, I was throwing like somewhere in the mid 70s. I think I'd beat 75 at that point, but I was probably like, I don't know, somewhere between 76 and 79. And that, I mean, maybe I could have made the team, but I probably wouldn't have gotten a lot of opportunity. So my varsity coach, he was like, let's have you throw on JV and you can like just get a lot of reps. I was gonna get called up, I believe. I was pretty confident that I was gonna get called up during the playoffs if I was available, which I was, but our team ended up losing the same day our last JV game happened. So that was it. And that summer I just went off. Like I had a really, really good summer, a lot of success. And then that also tied into the fall. And that's sort of when I started to look at recruitment. Um, there was a lot of stuff going on at home with like financials and also just like some house stuff in my family going on. So I kind of like when I started the recruitment process, I was like, I got to be close to home. And I went to several camps around the area. Siena was one of them, and I had a really good outing at Siena at when I went to their camp. This is in like early October, I believe. So I show up and threw extremely well. Had 9 strikeouts against 10 batters. They give you like five
yeah,
in 2 innings. So I was like,
can't get too much
this
better
is
than
good.
that.
Yeah. And I think I was somewhere around like 80 to 83 that day. So that was like I made a good impression. And I mean, I'm this like at this point, I'm still not filled out. So I'm like 5'8", 155 pounds, as opposed to where I'm like 5'9", 5'10", 195 now. So they were like, all right, skinny little kid throwing 80, 83. And I had a really, really good changeup that day where it was breaking like a complete foot every time and I would land it for a strike somehow. So I was like, I did really good here. I think God's leading me to come to Siena on top of it's 30 minutes away from my house and financially and like just being close to home was a big factor for me. So I was like, this is the opportunity I'm going to take. I'm not going to play the field. I want to just play it safe. This is where I know, like, one, if I play well, I'll get good opportunities. And two, it suits the needs of what I need right now. So that was how I landed on Siena.
Remember, listen, I, I try to explain to hitters that there's no feeling like a strikeout, but tell you, bro, nine and 10 batters. That's something where you walk away, you're like, all right, they gotta offer me right after that because I mean that's cool. Now you talked about your changeup, and I seen on Instagram you also throw screwball. Is it how what's the difference in your grips on that?
Yeah, so change up, I hold like this, basically
Ooh, that's a
like
wide
three
grip.
finger. And then I'm very pronate dominant. So like
Hmm.
trying to throw a slider, trying to throw a cutter, I'm terrible. Like I just can't keep my wrist like this. It always wants to go like this. So I'll throw it. I just think four seam, like throw it as hard as I can, and I kind of just naturally like pronate through it. Um, and then my screwball, I kind of just hold it like a two seamer like this, but I'm thinking like pronate through it like that. And I don't know. It's been cool. Like change up is probably somewhere between like 83 and 85, and that screwball is like 90, 80, 89, 90 pretty much every time. So that's been
So
cool.
does it
Go
have
ahead.
like a similar break, or is it more like not two seam action? Is it similar to two seam action? Right? I never caught someone that threw a screwball, but
It's pretty much the same. I mean, I just call it a screwball because I'm like actively going like this as opposed to just like letting it fall off my fingers. But and also, I mean, if I was throwing a two seam, it'd probably be a little faster than 90, I think, because usually like two seams like -3, so it should be like if I'm on a good day, it should be like 95 for a two seamer. So I think a screwball being 80 or being 90 would be good. And
right.
the
So,
changeup,
so
it's just got like I think a little bit more depth, and also there's a speed difference between the screwball and the changeup, so they can both play. I think.
so like similar breaks, but one is way have the hitter way more out in front. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
So, what are your goals? At academically, you're a senior, right?
Yes.
But on the field, how many years you have left?
From my understanding, unless I get a red shirt, which I haven't gotten in the process of doing, but
Hmm.
I'm eligible, I believe, for one of my seasons where I could get a red shirt. Um, I technically only have one at the moment, so this is it. I mean, I'm gonna, I'm going hard. I'm going for whatever I can. Whatever happens, happens at the end of the day. But I mean, I think it'd be really cool to just like have a really good season for Siena, help us out, um, and just see what we can do. I mean, I really want to see if we can win a MAC championship while I'm there. We've had a lot of turnover, a lot of just like years that have basically been thrown down the drain while I've been here because like coaching or I mean Corona the first year. Well,
Hmm.
Corona didn't impact me my freshman year of college, but it sort of did because I graduated in 2020, so that was the year that COVID like messed
Hmm.
everything. But 2021, we had like a weird season. So when I was there as a freshman, it was like we only played MAC games,
Hmm.
and that kind of like screwed us up, I feel, in terms of like making a run for the playoffs and all that. And then practices were way different than you had now. So like it was just it wasn't good for like a team culture. We would have like split up practices and all this stuff, and I barely knew half the guys on the team. Like it wasn't a good year. And then the next year was my year where I had the 60 ERA. We had a bunch of coaching turnover that year. And then this past year, we had we had a full coaching staff, and then my head coach, Coach Rossi, he retired in the middle of the season. So like I
Middle of
just
the season.
had the season where like all the coaches were there the whole
Hmm.
time. Everything was smooth sailing. So hopefully this year is. It sounds like we have a great coach coming in from Princeton. His name's Alex Jasinski, and
Oh,
I'm excited. We should be able to do well, I think.
man. And as far as goals, I know you talked about MAC championship, but what are some personal goals you might have for this year that you're excited
Um,
about?
I mean, I kind of my goal is to hit 100 at some point. So I'd like to hit 100 this year. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But I'm good with 98, but I want to get 100. Obviously, health comes first, so I'm not gonna push too hard. But that's something on the list. Obviously, if the draft could work out, that'd be great too. I want to take baseball as far as I can. I still got the dream of playing in major leagues that I've always had from being a kid. Um, I don't know if I can even be drafted being hurt, but we'll see, I guess. I'm not too worried about that though.
Listen, yeah, baseball always makes a way, bro. I'm telling you. Last year, D3, I think D3 is like Triple Crown winner. He got not drafted, but signed as an undrafted free agent. And I mean, once you're in the system, you're in the system.
Exactly.
But hey, man, I hope all that goes good for you, bro. Like that. I mean, just being able to hear your story, it made me feel, a little better. So I know you also know you have that impact on others. How does it feel to know that other people look at you and they're like, wow, like this guy is still pushing through. This guy is still, getting after it every single day. And even after that 60 ERA, he's embracing it rather than letting it crumble on
Right.
him.
I kind of just like I'm indifferent on it. I feel like sometimes it's great, other times it's like there's a bunch of people that are like, why would you ever say that you have a 60 ERA? Nah, nah, nah. I think it's more like just being not completely vulnerable. Like I don't post every time I have like bad pitches or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I think having that is like a symbol that nobody's perfect and nobody like is always going to play baseball well.
Hmm.
So I think it's a good representation for kids that are like, oh, I'm on top of the world. I'm the best player of my team. Well, it doesn't really matter until you get to the higher levels, right? So,
Hmm.
I mean, you could be the best player in Little League, you could be the best player in high school. That doesn't always guarantee that you're going to be the best player in college. And then, I mean,
Hmm.
not that the injury didn't play a factor, but I don't think necessarily I would have been the best player right off the rip as a freshman. I think it would have taken a lot of time, even if I was healthy, right? So it's it's about being true to you, being humble, believing in yourself, but at the same time being honest with yourself that every day that you're healthy and you get to play baseball is an opportunity and a blessing at the same time. You
Hmm.
can't take for granted any day that you have where you're healthy and you're good to go because I definitely have taken for granted being healthy sometimes where I'm just like, even when I've been hurt, I've been like, oh, I'm healthy. It's going to be just fine. Like, but yeah, I would say that. And then to go back a little bit to your main question, which was, um, how does it feel to have an impact for a lot of kids? Like I said, I feel sort of indifferent sometimes, but other times it is very good because like I'll see a message from a kid where it's like, thank you so much. You've helped me a ton. I went from thinking that my baseball career was over to having some hope after seeing what you've gone through and what you've forced yourself to like push through. And that always makes me feel good because that means like I have some sort of like impact on a kid's life where he's decided, you know what, I see what he's doing, and by him doing that, I'm gonna make a push myself to continue to play. And granted, I don't know how they end up sometimes when I get those messages, but I mean, the fact that people are willing to give it another try just because I gave it another try is kind of cool.
Yeah, that's That's fire. Well, I was I was even planning for like a 10-minute video. Oh, I was even planning for like a 10-minute video, and it's crazy that I mean it lasted almost 30 minutes. So just to be honest, I like to thank you for having this conversation with me because I also when I was watching videos, I thought about some of my teammates that like they'll have these rough patches, and sometimes you need to other people can have confidence in you, but you need to keep up, believe in yourself because it doesn't matter how many people are cheering for you. If you're on that mountain and you're feeling like you're the only person in the world and that no one's like you put yourself in this pit, like it's hard to get out of. Like it's really, really hard to get out of the pit of just not complacency, but you feel as though like every pitch you throw is a failure, And some people get into that mindset where if if it isn't the best pitch in the world, like it's garbage, it's terrible. I'm having a bad outing. Like a lot of people and players I know, they get way too judgmental, hard on themselves off singular things, like even in practice. You
Yeah,
have a bad rep, like they get mad and this and that. But it's like, bro, you have a chance. Throw another one. Just have that patience with themselves. So I just like
exactly.
to thank you, because your patience I'm not share with some people I know as well. So just keep grinding. Hope the best. Hope those dreams come true, and keep remaining in faith, brother. It's been great
Thank
talking
you.
to you. For all people out there watching, hope you continue to show support to my guy here, 60eraguy. Is there any last things you'd like to say?
Yeah, just thank you for having me. If you're watching this, thank you for watching and stay strong, keep going. That's all I gotta say.